Hello, and welcome to Writing in Graduate School. I'm Dr. Emily Standridge. I'm the Writing Center Director, and I'm going to give you some information to help your transition from writing as an undergraduate student or professional into writing as a graduate student. So thank you for clicking in today. When you're considering writing for graduate school, there are three important elements to consider as you formulate what you're writing. You want to consider your readership, who it is that is reading what you are writing, the purpose, what goal you are hoping to accomplish as you write, and the structure, the way that you put your piece together. We're going to talk about each of these elements and the difference between undergraduate and graduate school. So when you're thinking about readership, as an undergraduate, the person you are imagining reading is unknowledgeable, or the teacher or the classroom that you're in. There's somebody who is not very sophisticated in the field, and it's often very broad and very generic. You can sort of write anyone who might want to read it, anyone in my class, anyone who wants to know something about whatever the topic is. Whereas in graduate school, it's far less broad. It's very much someone who's knowledgeable in your field, someone who is interested and aware of your topic. So you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from someone who knows a little bit, or who is at least interested in what you're talking about. Often when you're writing for graduate school, you're thinking about writing for a published journal. Whether or not you actually submit to that journal, you're thinking about who is the readership, what do they know, what do they consider. So that's often a big difference to sort of broad and generic to very knowledgeable, very specific. When you're considering purpose, what you're doing as an undergraduate writer is displaying what you know to tell about the work that you've done. If it's a research paper, I read these things and I learned them. Aren't you happy that I did this? Whereas in graduate school, you're much less reporting on what you've learned and more entering a scholarly conversation. And what that means is you show an awareness of what others have contributed on this idea and what your idea fits in with that topic. So you're not saying, I learned something. You're saying, I learned something, I know something, I figured something out that fits into this broader understanding of the topic. You're providing new ideas or interpretations, which means you are considering something from a new perspective. And that can be a very minute new, right? Sometimes we get very nervous about the idea of I'm adding new knowledge. I don't have new knowledge. I don't know anything. Or maybe that's just me. But when you're thinking about new ideas, you're thinking about a change, an interpretation, taking something further. Also, you might be adding a new knowledge, which means you might be collecting actual data, depending on your field, and reporting on that data. That's data that doesn't exist anywhere else. You do that sometimes as an undergraduate. You often do that in lab, right? Except it's a setup lab that you are completing as part of your coursework. Whereas in graduate school, you are collecting new information. You're figuring things out through data collection that no one else knows. When we're thinking about structure, they're very similar in structure in that both choose a formatting style, you follow that style. So I'm talking about APA, MLA, Chicago, Turabian, IEEE, any of those sort of styles. But as an undergraduate, there are elements that you sort of pick and choose, and usually your teacher, your professor picks and chooses which elements you want to participate in. For instance, in APA often you wouldn't do an abstract, or you might not do a cover page. A lot of times you just do MLA, right? You MLA all the way through, or APA all the way through, no matter what your field might consider the appropriate formatting. In graduate school, you have to follow the citation formatting style of your field, and you have to follow it very specifically. So you don't pick and choose which parts of APA you use all of it from beginning to end, soup to nuts. A lot of times it's expected that you will know that structure already, even if it's very specific and very sort of esoteric and weird. Reading within your field of study is the way to make sure that you know what that is and to be able to follow that. So when you're in structure, sort of general idea as an undergraduate, whereas a graduate student in graduate school writing, you're going to be very specific, very closely following the formatting and style guides of your field. There are some tips for success. These are generalized to all writing, but they're especially important to emphasize as you're thinking about writing in graduate school. Always start your projects early. A lot of us say that we are deadline driven and I would do my best work when I am under the gun, and that might be true, but you're going to do better if you put yourself under the gun a lot sooner than later. So start your projects early. Always have a specific question in mind as you write, which means what's up with computer technology skills, but rather how does PowerPoint impact teaching? So something that's a really specific question as you start. But start with a question. And after you've done some research, some thinking, some reflection, develop a hypothesis. I think that PowerPoint improves teaching. I think PowerPoint detracts from interaction in teaching. So something that is a hypothesis that you can then test. You might need to develop several hypotheses. You might have competing hypotheses. You might have complementary, so ones that go together. You start with a question. The hypotheses are the maybe answers to the questions, and then you test them. You use your research, whether it's other scholarly sources, whether it's data, whether it's a combination, and you test those hypotheses to see what's true or what's not true. But as you're doing that, allow your research to change your mind. So your hypothesis is, I think this is the answer, but I also am ready to admit that it's not the answer, and I can go forward with that. Use your writing to figure out what you want to say, not just for expressing your finalized ideas. So that's about this, having a question, to having a hypothesis, exploring your answers to the hypothesis. Do all of that in writing as much as you can. A lot of times we think we're going to sit down, we're going to write our paper, we're going to edit it, we're going to turn it in, we're done. That's great for shorter papers. That's accomplishable with shorter papers. The longer your papers get, especially in graduate school, the less you are able to keep an entire paper in your head to transcribe it down on paper. So make sure that you are writing down as much as you can. A lot of that is stuff that will go into your paper. A lot of it is not, but that doesn't mean that it's not a useful, productive use of your time. Also, make sure that you leave time, whether it's an hour, whether it's a day, whether it's a week's the best, to edit the small stuff, to not change the wording, to not look at the sentences, but to really look at your commas, look at your sentence structure, not what your sentence says, but how it says it. Leave time for that as much as you possibly can in order to improve your writing. As I was saying, writing is a process. It's not, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have my ideas in my head, I'm going to put them on paper or the computer or however I write them down. It's a process of developing what you think and expressing it clearly. If it takes you 2 or 3 drafts to get through a paper, that's a good thing. You want to have several drafts of a paper. The steps, the parts of writing are pre-writing or planning. So that's having your question, developing your hypotheses, testing your hypotheses. That's all pre-writing that happens. You have your drafting stage where you've collected your research, you've thought things through, you've explored possible explanations, and you are committing to your ideas. Revision or rewriting is working with those ideas and developing them further, making sure you're expressed clearly, making sure you have a structure that you like, making sure that everything sticks to a thesis and to a plan. So it's not just editing, it's really going in and rewriting and digging in and making sure you're conveying your ideas as clearly and appropriately as possible. There's editing or proofreading, which is, again, going in and checking the little things, making sure you've got all your words spelled right, making sure you don't have typos, making sure your commas are good, making sure your sentences are structured the way you want to. And finally, there's turning it in. And we call writing a recursive process, which means that you don't pre-write, then draft, then revise, then edit, then turn in. It's not step by step by step. Rather, I'm going to do some pre-writing and then some drafting and then some more pre-writing and then some more drafting, and then I'm going to revise all of that, and then I'm going to edit some of it, and then I'm going to go back because I have more writing to do. So it's really an individualized process that goes around and around. That's why in the diagram here you can see that there's arrows going out in and out of all of them. And even as you get into professional publications, if you submit to journals, to conferences, you might get a revise and resubmit. So I've turned it in to a journal, and they came back and they said, well, we like this idea, but you need to consider this. And so you're going to write it some more and turn it in again. So even turning it in is not a final step. It's just part of the process. The more time you can give yourself to commit to the writing process, to moving through the different zones and spending time on your writing, the better you're going to be at writing. Make sure that you set time aside for editing and proofreading. I call it self-editing. So rather than having someone else look at it to edit, which is always a good idea, but also not something you always have time for, make sure you have time for editing only, to work on wording, to work on punctuation. Some of the ways to do that is to read sentence by sentence. And by that, it's easiest to start at your last sentence, read your last sentence, then your next to last sentence, then the sentence before that. So you're reading each sentence individually in isolation so that you see what your sentences are doing rather than getting caught up in the things that you're saying. Because a lot of times we're saying pretty cool stuff, and so we get really excited about what we're saying, and we don't look at how each sentence is working. So reading sentence by sentence, starting from the last one, we have a better way of looking at how our sentences are working. Reading each sentence out loud is another added bonus to that. The more you read it out loud, the more you hear where things are not working. And this is particularly true if English is not your first language. This might not be the right tip for you, but reading out loud to a native speaker or having a native speaker read it out loud to you, you're going to find things where you pause, where you stumble over a word, and those are places to go back and look and say, "Ooh, what's going on here? What can I pay attention to here to make this better?" Another thing that I really like is using the find feature in the word processor. So Control F or Apple F, or if you go in the menus, there's a find. Looking for things that you know you make errors in. So I use I all the time when I write, and I'm really not supposed to. So if I find the use of the word I can go in and I can rework each of those sentences. When I'm typing, I type te, T-E-H, rather than the all the time. So I can search for that and I can make sure that's all corrected. So as you know things that you do wrong or that you make mistakes in, you can search for those and use the technology to help you correct them as you go forward. Another excellent technology tool is Google Translate. You can put English sentences into Google Translate and it will actually read them out loud for you. Sometimes that's another way of hearing some of the errors that exist if you're not into reading your paper out loud. Make time, give yourself an hour, give yourself 2 hours, give yourself a week, however long you can to just do editing, to say my wording, my phrasing, like my ideas are there. I'm just gonna look at the nitty gritty English major stuff. I'm just gonna look at that because that's really important. And as a graduate student, it's really important that you present yourself professionally, and that's having clean copy, clean writing, and you have to do it separately in order to make sure you're actually clean. It's actually clean. This is my least favorite part of writing, and I'm a writing professor, so I know how hard it is to do this. It's essential. I force myself to do it on every paper, and you should too. Asking for help is essential. Writing is not something that you can be okay at writing on your own, but working with someone else is going to make you into a great writer. Your classmates are a great resource for improving your writing. Just reading each other's drafts is going to help your writing. Reading someone else's is going to help your writing. Having yours read by someone else is going to help your writing as well. So just reading and giving each other thoughts is a great first step into asking for help. Online, if you need assistance, the best place to go is the Purdue Online Writing Lab. If you do a Google search for Purdue Online Writing Lab, it'll pull up right away. It'll be the first hit. This is a great resource for grammar concerns, for citation concerns, for writing process, just general information about writing. It is all up to date. It is all correct. It is all accessible and easy and free, and I highly recommend it. Also, you can ask us at the UT Tyler Writing Center. We are a tutoring center that is here to help you with your writing. We say any writing project, any class, we're here to help with. We're here also for any stage of the writing process, anywhere from I have a paper and I don't even know how to get started, all the way through to I just want to make sure one more edit with another set of eyes, and everything in between we can help you with. We do offer tutoring in person. We're in the old business building. I didn't update that slide. The old business building, which is now the College of Arts and Sciences building in 202. So we do in-person tutoring. We also do online tutoring. So if you have access to Google Docs, we do online tutoring. And it works exactly the same whether you're in person or online, in that you make an appointment, and you can make the appointment through our website, uttyler.edu/writing-center/make an appointment. You can go in and find a time and a person that works for you, and then We will sit down and we'll give you up to 1 hour of our time to work through your piece of writing, looking at specific questions you have, as well as what our professional readers notice and are concerned about. We're not going to be able to say, yes, your content is correct, or no, it's not. But we are going to be able to talk to you through, this is communicated clearly, this is not supported, this is a concern, this is a writing pattern I see, so we're going to be able to help you in a lot of ways, just not content. Our hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday. We have what we call library hours. These are drop-in only hours from 8 to 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on the main floor of the library. We're always here to help you with writing. So please use us. We are an excellent resource. We are absolutely free for you to use. Your instructors are also an excellent source. And in fact, many times the Writing Center will send you back to your instructor with a question. So asking them, not just, can you read this and say it's good, but I have this concern about my writing. How can I improve it? Will you read my thesis statement and make sure it's in the appropriate manner? Those are good questions to ask your instructors. Your advisors, so you're sort of that step up from your instructors, are also an excellent resource for you. They know the field and they know the things that are of concern to graduate students, so they're an excellent resource as well. There's no shame in asking for help. These things are all here for you because we know you need help. So ask for it. It won't come out and bite you, but it will give you a hug when you come in, a metaphorical hug. An important note that I always talk about with writing, but is especially important for graduate students, is the concern about plagiarism. It is expected that you will know the rules of citations and source usage. If you say, I didn't know I was plagiarizing, that is not going to get you out of trouble. So you need to know this stuff. That being said, you don't have to know it off the top of your head. You don't have to go find that information out. If you're working in APA, MLA, Chicago, there are books that exist out there. They're called the Formatting Style Guides. You need to own the book for your field. Even if you're using the online resources, you need a book. You need the APA book. You need the MLA book. You need the Chicago book. Whichever one you're using, you need to own that. That does have the rules for what is plagiarism and what is not. It also has the rules for citing accurately. For any situation you can imagine, it's got the rules for that. You need that. But also, if you're ever concerned, you don't know, I'm afraid I might be plagiarizing, ask a tutor, ask your teacher, ask a classmate. You need to be aware that the information exists. You need to know where to look it up, but you don't need to know it off the top of your head. You can always look it up. You can always find that rule. And if you can't find the rule, you can ask someone who can help you find the rule. Just make sure that you are aware that plagiarism is a big deal, and not knowing I plagiarized, accidentally, is not going to get you out of trouble in graduate school. So be aware and ask questions to avoid that. The best way to write better is to read more, which is, the hardest and the easiest thing to do. The more you read anything, blogs, silly romance novels, sci-fi, anything that you read, the more you read, the better you're going to write. If you want to write better for your field in particular, you need to read in your field in particular. Find a journal that you find easy to read and read it every time it comes out. It'll come out 4 times a year. So read in your field, and you don't even have to think about what their writing style is. Just reading in it will help you improve your writing. In addition to that, the more you write, the better you get at it. Writing is a skill. It's just like fitness. The more you exercise, the fitter you are. The more you write, the better you are at it. So the more you can write, and this is writing anything at all. So if you keep a journal, if you keep a blog, if you write a lot of emails, all of that writing is going to help your writing in school. Obviously, just like reading, the more you write in your field, the better your writing in your field will be. But it doesn't, if you're like, I just can't write any extra papers because I just can't, well then don't. Write your blog, write your emails. Keep writing to be in practice, to be fit, to be toned, to be ready to go when your papers come up. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to visit the Writing Center. As I've said more than once, I am the Writing Center Director. On our website is uttyler.edu/Writing Center. You can also email us at writingcenter@uttyler.edu. You can also email me, Dr. Standridge, at estandridge@uttyler. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. You can also call us. Our phone number is 903-565-5995. That's the Writing Center. We answer when we're open, so that 9 to 6 or 9 to 3, unless we are fully booked, in which case we leave a message and we will get back to you. Or you can call me on my office number, which is 903-566-7374. Again, you'll probably have to leave a message because I'm in and out all the time, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. Good luck with your writing endeavors, and please use the resources available to you. Use the Writing Center. Thank you very much.